In this video, I'll be showing images taken on a recent trip to Wastwater in the Lake District. The lighting and conditions were far from ideal, but I'll hopefully show that it's possible to obtain good images in quite difficult conditions.
So in this video, I'm up in the Lake District. We come up here for a week's landscape photography, and I'm actually at Wastwater in the Lake District, and the light's not great. We've been dodging showers all day long, and it's actually stopped raining for a little while now. So I've come out there to actually photograph looking down the lake towards the hills in the background, which were quite nicely capped with strong clouds. Now there's not a lot of light today as far as colour wise, there's no great colour on the mountains or dramatic lighting. So it's going to be one of those occasions, I think, really where it might be more of a monochrome day. Until I actually get the pictures back at home on the computer, I won't really know. It's surprising sometimes when you take pictures in not ideal conditions, you can still actually brighten them up and make something quite good out of them. But often as not, sometimes monochrome works very, very well. So the camera I'm using today is the OM1 and the 12 to 40mm 2.8. And I'm using ISO 200 and f8, and I've got a Lee filter system on the front. I've got a 0.6 soft edge grad just to try and hold the sky in there. There's not a huge amount of contrast between the sky and the foreground, but I'm using the soft edge grad, and hopefully that will control it a little bit. So I don't really want to use HDR or anything like that today. I don't really need it in these lighting conditions. Then there's not a huge amount of contrast, so I'll get it all in one shot using RAW. I've also got a 4-stop ND grad as well, and a polarizer on the front. Now that's really cutting the light levels down. I'm also using live ND, so I'm actually getting a 20-second exposure. The reason I want a long exposure is because there's a little bit of ripple on the water, and I want to cut that out. I want the completely flat water, because when it's really flat you might get the sky, the clouds reflecting into the water. But there's 3 or 4 rocks here in the foreground. I'm using them as foreground interest to lead into the picture, and I took a few pictures already and it looks okay. So I'm going to carry on taking some more. I'll wander around. There's lots of areas here at Wastwater where you can use different viewpoints, different foreground interest and things like that. So it's a great location. There is actually just a little bit of light just starting to catch there, but we'll be here most of the morning, and hopefully we might get some light eventually on the hills in the background, but we'll wait and see. I'm actually using a cable release here so that when I actually sort of do the long exposure I don't get any camera shake or anything like that. And I'm composing using the back screen. So what I'm actually doing is I'm focusing manually using peaking just on these rocks there, but I'm just checking with the peaking to see that the mountains in the background are sharp as well. And it's important when you're doing landscape photography that you can change from landscape to portrait format quickly. What I'm actually using here is the small sort of L bracket, so I can very, very quickly take that off there, put that on there, and then sort of if I want to shoot in portrait format, what I might do is actually use those rocks and photograph up there, but I can do it very, very quickly using this small rig cage L bracket, so I don't have to start messing around recomposing or anything like that. It makes life a lot easier. So here what I've actually done is change the composition, but not only change the composition, I've actually changed the lens, and this time I've put the 8-25 on, and it's 8mm, and here I've come actually sort of so the rocks are actually leading almost into the picture in a line, and I'm getting most of that mountain there with the cloud over the top of it, but still getting the clouds in the background there. The light is just starting to break out there at the moment, but it's not cutting through to the mountains, unfortunately. But that's again another 20-second exposure, so that looks quite nice actually. I think what I'm going to do is actually just bring it round, the composition round slightly there. Actually move the tripod a little bit more that way, and just bring it up a little bit. One of the advantages of the Olympus is that you can check your horizons. It's got a level sort of on it there, so that you can actually see when or not it flashes green, and you get a sign to say that it is actually sort of level. F8. 8, that's giving me 15 seconds there because the light's improved slightly. It's starting to rain now, so this will probably be the last shot that I'm going to get for a while. I can see the clouds are really starting to roll in again, and I don't like taking pictures in the rain, I must admit. It's not a problem for the Olympus. The Olympus is waterproof. Yeah, that looks okay, but I'm not, so I'm packing up.
It started to rain, so I decided to retreat to the car until it subsided. It wasn't just light drizzle, it really threw it down. Although I have seen some quite good landscapes taken in the pouring rain, I do find having to be constantly wiping the front of the lens or the filter a real nuisance, so I decided on this occasion to retreat to the car. The rain lasted for about 10 minutes, and eventually it eased off, although it was still very dull and overcast. After a while, I noticed that there appeared to be a break in the clouds on the horizon, so I decided to hang on to see if the light would improve, and eventually it did. So I'm going to finish off showing a few images taken towards the end of the day. Although the sun came out briefly, I could see that there was another bank of cloud following on behind it, so I knew that the light would only last for a short period. Consequently, for about 10 minutes, I was rushing around taking pictures as quickly as I could before the light faded. So that I could work quickly, I didn't bother using the tripod and took all the images handheld. One big advantage of the OM1 and the other Olympus camera bodies that it is possible to handhold relatively slow shutter speeds and still get sharp images. With the OM1 and a wide-angle lens, I can quite easily handhold the camera up to 1.6 seconds and still get acceptable results. Eventually, the clouds moved in and I lost the light, but by then I felt I at least had some acceptable images. So once the images are on the computer, it's quite surprising how it's possible to work up an image to produce an acceptable result. Shooting in RAW allows a considerable amount of latitude when adjusting the sliders in the RAW converter. It's possible to bring back detail in the shadow areas and also ensure that the highlights have detail in them. I hope you enjoyed the video, and thanks for watching.